He never thought the man who once shoved his face into locker doors would one day whisper his name like a prayer. But here he was standing on the same football field where the humiliation began, hearing the voice of his old tormentor crack with desperation. Noah Keller was 27 now, no longer the scared, skinny kid who spent his high school years hiding bruises under long sleeves and laughter behind silence. He had carved out a life of quiet dignity, teaching English at the same school he once hated walking into. He had told himself he returned for redemption, for closure, but he never expected closure to wear the face of Ryan Cole. Ryan Cole, the golden boy, the quarterback with the smile that could charm teachers and crushes alike. The same smile that once haunted Noah's nightmares, now softened by time, regret, and something else Noah couldn't yet name. "Do you ever think about me?" Ryan's voice was low, barely holding together. The question sounded absurd. Of course Noah thought about him every single day, though never like this. Noah's grip tightened around the folder in his hands. His students' essays spilled out like fragments of unfinished lives, pages fluttering against the wind, mirroring his unsteady heart. "Why would I?" Noah shot back, his tone sharp, but his chest ached. Ryan stepped closer, his shadow falling across the grass, tall and broken in a way Noah had never seen before. "Because I never stopped thinking about you, even when I hated myself for it." The words struck Noah harder than fists ever did. The town hadn't changed much since high school. Same diners, same cracked sidewalks, same gossip that clung to every corner like ivy. But Noah had changed her, at least he thought he had. He'd built walls of intellect, confidence in front of classrooms, and a reputation for being composed. Yet here, standing before the man who once tore him down, those walls quivered. He remembered the locker slams, the cruel nicknames, the laughter echoing through halls that swallowed his pride. But he also remembered stolen glances, the way Ryan sometimes lingered a second too long, eyes softer than his fists. And Noah had buried those confusing fragments deep, convinced they were tricks of a desperate teenage mind. Now Ryan was back, stripped of his armor, his once glorious future dimmed. He had been a college star, destined for the NFL, until injuries and scandals clipped his wings. The town still whispered about him, how the golden boy had fallen, how he never quite escaped his own mistakes. And Noah, of all people, was the one standing in front of him now. "You don't get to do this," Noah said, his voice trembling. "You don't get to walk back into my life and pretend you care? Pretend you didn't make me hate waking up every morning?" Ryan's jaw tightened, and for a moment the Jock facade flickered, the one he used to wear like armor. But it was gone as quickly as it came, leaving only a man, raw and vulnerable. "I'm not pretending," Ryan whispered. "I was a coward. I was angry at myself and I took it out on you. You were everything I wanted to be close to, but couldn't, so I hurt you instead. And I'll never forgive myself for that." The admission cut deeper than the insults ever did. Noah's heart waged war with his mind. He wanted to spit in Ryan's face, scream, demand why. But beneath the rage, a dangerous hope stirred. That night, Noah couldn't sleep. He lay awake in his small apartment above the bookstore downtown, staring at the cracked ceiling like it held the answers he'd been running from for years. He hated Ryan Cole. He needed to hate him. It was safer that way. Yet his chest burned with memories that were never supposed to be tender. Ryan's laughter spilling across the football field, the way he looked at him in history class when he thought no one noticed. And now, tonight, that same boy stood before him, not as a tyrant but as a man begging for a chance at something real. Days blurred. Ryan lingered in Noah's orbit like a storm cloud that refused to pass. He showed up at the school, not barging into classrooms but waiting by the gates, offering small nods that carried more weight than words. Sometimes, he slipped notes into Noah's mailbox at the teacher's lounge. Not threats, not taunts, just lines that bled honesty. "I wish I had known how to love you back then. You were braver than me, Noah. You always were. Please let me try." Noah tore most of them apart, but not before reading each word until it stained his thoughts. One Friday night, after grading papers until his eyes blurred, Noah found himself driving past the old diner where everyone used to gather. Through the window, he spotted Ryan sitting alone, nursing a black coffee, his posture slouched like defeat itself. Something inside Noah snapped, or maybe it healed. He pushed open the door, the bell above it chiming memories of high school nights when he would never have dared to step inside with Ryan's crowd dominating the booths. But now the crowd was gone. Only Ryan remained. Ryan's eyes widened when he saw him. He straightened, as if Noah's presence was the one miracle he hadn't dared to pray for. "You came," Ryan said softly. "Don't make this into something it's not," Noah replied, sliding into the booth opposite him. But even as he said it, he felt the lie unravel in his throat. Ryan searched his face, as if memorizing every detail he'd once ignored. "Noah, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I can't stop wanting it." Noah exhaled slowly, his heart pounding. He thought about his students, about the lessons he drilled into them daily about compassion, about second chances, about choosing kindness even when the world didn't offer it to you first. Could he live those words himself? "Ryan," Noah said, his voice low, "if you're serious about this about Methan, you're not asking for forgiveness. You're asking for time. And time is harder to give." Ryan leaned forward, his eyes glistening. "Then let me earn it. I'll wait as long as it takes." For the first time, Noah didn't feel like the scared boy in the hallway. He felt like a man standing on equal ground. And as he looked into Ryan's eyes once filled with cruelty but now brimming with regret and something dangerously close to love, felt the faintest flicker of belief that maybe, just maybe, people could change. The night stretched on. Coffee cups emptied, silence grew comfortable, and the wounds of the past lingered between them like scars not erased, but no longer festering. As Noah walked back to his car under the cool autumn night, Ryan followed a step behind, as if afraid the moment would shatter. "Noah," Ryan called softly. Noah turned. Ryan hesitated, then whispered, "You were the best thing in that high school. I was just too blind to see it." The words hit Noah like a confession too late, yet somehow just in time. He didn't reply, not yet. But as he got into his car, he knew this story wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The silence between them on the walk back to Noah's apartment was a silence that carried weight. Not the kind that stifled or suffocated, but one that pulsed with everything unsaid. Each step echoed with memories neither of them wanted to touch, yet both knew they would have to eventually. "You don't have to walk me home," Noah said finally, breaking the quiet. His voice was firmer than he felt. Ryan gave a small, humorless laugh. Old habits. Protecting the teacher now instead of pushing him into lockers. Noah shot him a sharp look, but there was no cruelty in Ryan's tone, only self-mockery. "That's not funny." "I know." Ryan's jaw tightened, his breath fogging the cold air. "But I don't know how else to talk to you without reminding you of how badly I screwed it all up." Noah swallowed, staring at the cracked pavement under his shoes. "Maybe you just start talking like I'm someone you never hurt." Ryan nodded, as if committing it to memory, though his shoulders sagged. "I'll try." When they reached Noah's apartment building, a quiet two-story brick place above the bookstore, Ryan stopped at the bottom step. He shoved his hands deeper into his jacket pockets, his posture hesitant, like a boy standing outside the principal's office. "Thanks for letting me sit with you tonight," Ryan said softly. "I didn't think you'd stay. I thought you'd throw your coffee at me and leave." Noah almost smiled at that, though he hid it. "Maybe next time." Ryan chuckled, but his eyes stayed serious. "I'm not giving up, Noah. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to be in your life, even if it's just standing here, waiting for you to let me in." For a moment, Noah wanted to slam the door on that idea. Wanted to protect himself, to guard the scarred places Ryan had left behind. But against all reason, he found himself nodding. "Good night, Ryan." And with that, he went inside, leaving Ryan on the steps, alone with the cold night and his regrets. The following week was a test Noah never expected. Ryan kept showing up, but not in ways that smothered or demanded. He was just there. In the mornings, Noah would sometimes spot him across the street from the school, sipping from a takeout coffee cup, his eyes tracking Noah like he was afraid to blink and miss him. He never crossed the line, never stepped onto school grounds. When their eyes did meet, Ryan would give the smallest nod, a silent promise. I'm here. I'm trying. First, it infuriated Noah. Then, slowly, it unnerved him. And finally, against his will, it began to comfort him. One late afternoon, after dismissing his last class, Noah lingered at his desk, grading essays. His students had been tasked with writing about fear, what it meant to them, how they overcame it. Their words, raw and unpolished, sank deep into his chest. Fear is not the monster under my bed. It's the silence when nobody believes me. Fear is standing alone when everyone else is laughing. Fear is wanting something so badly but being too scared to admit it. Noah set the papers down, his throat tight. These were the words of teenagers who didn't yet know how to lie to themselves. He wondered what fear had looked like for Ryan back then. Maybe the same as his own different costume, same terror. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock at his classroom door. Ryan. Noah froze. Ryan had never stepped inside since their encounter. But there he was, leaning awkwardly in the doorway, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, eyes searching Noah's face for permission to enter. Hey, Ryan said softly. Noah's heart thudded. You can't be here, Ryan. I know. I needed to say something. Just one thing. He stepped inside, slow, careful, as if the wrong movement might shatter the fragile air between them. Noah crossed his arms. Then say it. Ryan's gaze dropped to the scattered essays on Noah's desk. He picked one up gently, scanning the scribbled words about fear, then set it back down as if it were holy. I was afraid of you, Ryan said finally. That's the truth. You were everything I wasn't allowed to want. And I hated myself so much for it. I made you pay the price. Every shove, every cruel word, it was me punishing myself through you. Noah's throat tightened. He wanted to scream at him, to throw the words back in his face. But he also wanted to collapse under the weight of the honesty. You think that makes it better? Noah whispered. No, Ryan's voice cracked. It just makes it real. That night, Noah dreamed of high school hallways. He dreamed of lockers slamming shut, of Ryan's smirk twisted with something unspoken, of his own heart pounding with fear that tasted too much like longing. When he woke, his pillow was damp with tears he hadn't realized fell. Saturday came, crisp and golden with autumn. Noah tried to distract himself with errands, groceries, laundry, lesson planning. But by evening, he found himself standing outside the football field again. The same place where their story had always circled back. Ryan was there, sitting on the bleachers like he had been waiting all day. Didn't think you'd come, Ryan said when Noah approached. I didn't think I would either, Noah admitted. They sat in silence for a long while, the empty field stretching before them, ghosts of games and cheers echoing faintly in memory. Finally, Ryan spoke. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to like me. But Noah, I want to try to be the man you deserved back then, even if it's 10 years too late. Noah turned to look at him, really look at him, the broad shoulders that once towered over him, the hands that once pushed him down, now curled nervously into fists of regret. And the eyes, God, the eyes, they were no longer cruel. They were pleading. You can't rewrite the past, Noah said quietly. I know, Ryan whispered. But maybe we can write something new. The words hung between them like a promise waiting to be tested. Over the next weeks, something fragile began to take shape. Ryan didn't push. He didn't demand. He just showed up, offering Noah rides when it rained, carrying groceries without being asked, fixing the creaky lock on Noah's door. Small things, human things. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. And Noah, against every instinct to protect himself, began to let those walls bend. One evening, they ended up in Noah's apartment after Ryan helped carry boxes of books up the stairs. They sat on the floor, sharing takeout Chinese, laughing about a ridiculous essay one of Noah's students had written comparing Shakespeare to reality TV. The laughter faded into a silence that wasn't heavy this time. It was warm, charged. Ryan's hand brushed Noah's as he reached for another dumpling. He froze, pulling back immediately. Sorry. Noah stared at him, heart pounding. Then, before he could stop himself, he said, "Don't be." Ryan's eyes flicked up to his, wide with something that looked like hope and fear all tangled together. It was Noah who leaned in first. The kiss was tentative, almost accidental. But it carried 10 years of pain, anger, longing, and something dangerously close to forgiveness. When they finally pulled apart, Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. "I've wanted this since I was 16. Noah's chest ached with the truth he had buried for just as long. "Then don't waste it this time." Outside, the night stretched on, uncaring of the two men sitting on a small apartment floor, hearts colliding after years of distance. For the first time, Noah believed maybe, just maybe, this broken story could still find its way to something whole. Noah woke the next morning with the taste of Ryan's kiss still lingering on his lips, a memory that felt too fragile to touch. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every second, the hesitation, the warmth, the way Ryan's voice had cracked with truth afterward. It felt unreal, like he had stepped into a story that wasn't meant for him. But reality came crashing back quickly. This wasn't just about two men figuring out their feelings. This was about a small town that never forgot, never forgave, and never stopped watching. By Monday, whispers had already started. It began in the teacher's lounge when Mrs. Daniels, the math teacher, glanced at Noah a little too long, her mouth pursed tight as though she was holding back words. Later, in the hallway, a group of juniors burst into laughter when Ryan appeared outside the school gates, though their eyes darted toward Noah as if connecting invisible dots. Noah tried to ignore it, tried to pretend that his life hadn't become the stage for another round of gossip. But when the principal, Mr. Hargrove, called him into his office, he knew the whispers were becoming something heavier. "Noah," Mr. Hargrove began, folding his hands on the desk, his expression carefully neutral. "I don't usually involve myself in personal matters of my staff. But lately there's been talk about you and Ryan Cole." Noah felt heat rise to his face, but he forced himself to sit straight. "What about him?" "You know how this town is," Hargrove sighed. "People remember. They remember him, they remember you. And now they see him hanging around the school, waiting outside, watching. I just want to make sure you understand the implications." "Implications?" Noah repeated flatly. "Yes." Hargrove's tone softened, though not kindly. "I don't want trouble for you, Noah. You've built a good reputation here. You're respected. Don't let something from the past or someone jeopardize that." Noah swallowed hard, fighting the sting in his throat. "With all due respect, what I do outside of this school isn't anyone's business." Hargrove leaned back, his sigh heavy. "In a town like this, everything is everyone's business." That night, Noah found himself pacing his living room, Ryan sitting on the couch watching him with a furrowed brow. "They called you in?" Ryan asked after Noah finally blurted the story. "Yes," Noah snapped. "Like I'm some kind of reckless teenager sneaking around with a bad influence." Ryan's jaw tightened, guilt flickering across his face. "That's exactly what they think I am, isn't it? The bad influence, the screw-up, the guy who had everything and ruined it." Noah stopped pacing, his chest tight. "Ryan, this isn't about you being a screw-up. It's about me being afraid. Afraid of losing everything I've worked for just because this town can't let go of who we used to be." Ryan stood, closing the space between them. "Then let me take the fall. Don't risk yourself for me." The words stung. "That's not how this works. If I push you away now, I'm proving them right. That I'm weak. That I care more about their judgment than my own truth." Ryan's hand hovered near Noah's, not quite touching. "So what's your truth, Noah?" Noah stared at him, the question crashing through every wall he had left. His truth was that he wanted Ryan. Against logic, against memory, against the weight of 1,000 scars, she wanted him. "My truth," Noah whispered, "is that I'm tired of being afraid." And this time, when he kissed Ryan, there was no hesitation. The weeks that followed were both heaven and hell. Heaven, because when they were alone, the world melted away. Nights spent tangled in sheets, Ryan's rough laugh against Noah's neck, quiet mornings with coffee and sunlight spilling through blinds. Ryan's hands, once the instruments of pain, now traced Noah's skin with reverence. Hell, because the town didn't stay quiet. At the grocery store, conversations hushed when Noah walked by. At church, old neighbors gave him tight-lipped smiles that felt more like knives. A few of his students whispered rumors too loudly in the hallway, their laughter sharp and cutting. One afternoon, as Noah left school, he found the word freak scrawled in chalk across his car windshield. He stood frozen, the autumn wind biting at his skin, until Ryan appeared at his side. Ryan's fists clenched, his whole body trembling with rage. "Who did this?" "It doesn't matter," Noah said quickly, forcing calm he didn't feel. "They want a reaction. I won't give it to them." But Ryan wasn't calm. His voice broke. "I swore I'd never let anyone hurt you again. And now it's happening all over because of me." Noah turned, gripping his arm. "No. It's happening because this town is afraid of change. Afraid of people like us. But I'm not that scared kid anymore. And neither are you." Ryan's eyes burned, but he nodded, swallowing back tears. The turning point came at a Friday night football game. The stands were full. The whole town gathered for the ritual they worshipped. Noah hadn't planned on going. Too many memories lingered in those bleachers, but Ryan asked him. "Please," Ryan said, his voice low. "I need you there. I need to show them I'm not hiding anymore. And I don't want to do it alone." So Noah went. They sat side by side, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the not-so-subtle pointing. For the first quarter, Noah thought he might suffocate from the tension. But then Ryan reached over, lacing his fingers through Noah's under the glare of the stadium lights. The crowd reacted instantly, gasps, mutters, even a few jeers. Noah's heart pounded, panic clawing at his chest. But Ryan's grip didn't falter. He held on, steady and certain. And then, slowly, something unexpected happened. A handful of people clapped. Quiet at first, scattered but real. A group of Noah's students, sitting in the front row, began cheering loudly, their voices defiant against the hush of the crowd. Noah blinked, stunned. He had prepared himself for rejection, for cruelty. He hadn't prepared for support. Ryan leaned close, whispering against his ear. "See? Not everyone hates us." Noah squeezed his hand tighter, the knot in his chest unraveling just a little. "No, not everyone." That night, after the game, they walked through town together, still hand in hand. The night air was crisp, the streets quiet. For once, Noah didn't feel like every shadow held judgment. "Do you regret it?" Noah asked softly. Ryan looked at him, confusion flickering. "Regret what?" "Us making it public. Giving them something to talk about." Ryan stopped walking, pulling Noah closer until they stood inches apart. His eyes were fierce, steady. "No. I regret wasting 10 years pretending I didn't love you. But this I'll never regret." Noah's breath hitched, his chest aching in a way that was almost unbearable. But this ache wasn't pain. It was the overwhelming, terrifying possibility of happiness. For the first time in years, Noah let himself believe it might last. The weeks after the football game felt like walking through shifting air. Some people glared harder than ever, their disapproval sharpened by Ryan's defiance. Others softened, offering small smiles or nods in passing, gestures that felt almost revolutionary in a town where silence was the loudest language. But Noah knew the story wasn't just about public acceptance. The true test lived in the quiet moments when the noise of the world faded, leaving only the two of them and the ghosts they hadn't fully laid to rest. One evening, as autumn bled into early winter, Noah sat across from Ryan at his apartment, grading essays while Ryan absent-mindedly flipped through a sports magazine. The television murmured in the background, low and unimportant. Suddenly, Noah set his pen down. "Ryan," he said, his tone sharper than he intended. Ryan looked up instantly. "What is it?" Noah hesitated. His throat tightened around the words, but he forced them out. "Do you ever think about what you did to me back then? Really think about it?" Ryan's face fell. He closed the magazine slowly, setting it aside. Every day. I mean the details. Noah pressed, his voice trembling. The bruises. The names. The way you made me feel like I didn't deserve to breathe the same air as you. Do you think about that, Ryan? Because I do. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ryan's jaw clenched, his eyes burning with a mixture of shame and pain. I think about it more than I can stand, Ryan whispered finally. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I swear I can still see the look on your face. And I hate myself all over again. I'll never undo it. I'll never make it right. But I swear to you, Noah, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better than that boy I was. Noah's eyes stung. His anger wasn't gone, not completely. Maybe not ever, but in that moment, he realized something profound. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past. It was about deciding not to let it hold him hostage anymore. I don't want an apology every time I look at you, Noah said softly. I want a future. Do you understand? Ryan nodded, his voice thick. Then let me give you one. Their future, however, wasn't free of trials. The school board called Noah in after a parent complained about his conduct. They framed it delicately, but Noah knew what they meant. They wanted reassurance that his private life wouldn't influence his students. Noah sat in that sterile room, surrounded by gray walls and older men in suits, his hands steady on the table. For the first time in his life, he didn't shrink. My private life doesn't belong to you, he said firmly. And if teaching my students compassion, courage, and honesty is a problem, then maybe I don't belong here. But I won't apologize for who I love. The words left his mouth like fire, and for once, Noah felt the burn as power instead of pain. When he walked out of that room, Ryan was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his truck. The second Noah's eyes met his, the weight of the confrontation crashed over him. Ryan crossed the distance in 2 strides, pulling him into an embrace so tight it nearly stole his breath. I'm so proud of you, Ryan murmured into his hair. God, Noah, you don't know how proud I am. Noah closed his eyes, holding on. For once, he felt like the boy who used to hide was truly gone. Winter came, and with it, the holidays. The town, for all its narrow eyes and sharp whispers, lit up in twinkling lights, wreaths on doors, and the faint scent of pine in the air. Ryan invited Noah to his family's Christmas dinner. The thought alone made Noah's stomach twist, remembered Ryan's parents from high school, remembered their cold stares and rigid expectations. But Ryan looked at him with such desperate hope that Noah found himself saying yes. The evening was tense. Ryan's mother greeted Noah with polite distance, her smile brittle, while his father barely acknowledged him at all. The meal was quiet, conversations strained. It was only when Ryan reached under the table, lacing his fingers with Noah's, that the knot in Noah's chest loosened. Later that night, as they drove home under falling snow, Ryan apologized. I thought maybe they'd come around, but I guess it's too much to ask. Noah glanced at him, then squeezed his hand. They don't have to come around. You did. That's enough. Ryan's eyes glistened, though he blinked the tears away. You don't know what that means to me. Noah smiled faintly. I think I do. Spring arrived quietly, melting snow into green, replacing gray skies with softer light. By then, the town had settled into its rhythm. The gossip didn't vanish, but it dulled, replaced by newer scandals and fresher targets. People adjusted, as they always did, even if they never admitted it. One afternoon, as Noah dismissed his last class, he caught sight of Ryan waiting outside, leaning against his truck. It had become a ritual, one that still made Noah's chest flutter. They drove out of town, through winding country roads, until they reached the lake where they'd gone once as teenagers, both pretending not to want what they couldn't name. Now, sitting on the dock with their legs dangling over the water, the sun dipping low on the horizon, Ryan took a deep breath. Noah, he began, voice steady but laced with nerves. I don't have a ring. I don't even have the right words. But I need to ask you this. Noah turned to him, heart already racing. Ryan's eyes held nothing but truth. Will you let me spend my life making up for the years I stole from us? Will you let me love you the way I should have from the beginning? For a moment, Noah couldn't breathe. The boy inside him, the one who had once been shoved into lockers and silenced by shame, wanted to cry. But the man he had become, the man sitting here with Ryan now, only felt peace. Yes, Noah whispered. Yes, Ryan. I will. Ryan's face broke into a smile so raw, so unguarded, it made Noah's chest ache. They leaned into each other, the kiss soft, slow, full of promises neither of them would ever break again. The town didn't magically transform overnight. There were still whispers, still cold stares. But there were also smiles, nods, and quiet acceptance from those who chose love over fear. Noah continued teaching, his students thriving under his care. Ryan found work coaching at the local community center, channeling his past into something brighter, mentoring kids who needed guidance. Together, they built a life not free of scars, but stronger because of them. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon and they sat together on the porch of their small shared home, Ryan rested his head against Noah's shoulder. Do you ever think about the past? Ryan asked softly. All the time, Noah admitted. But it doesn't hurt like it used to, because now, when I think about it, I see how far we've come. Ryan pressed a kiss to his temple. We made it, didn't we? Noah smiled, his chest full. Yeah, we did. The world around them was still imperfect, still carrying the weight of judgment. But here, in this moment, with Ryan's hand in his and the promise of tomorrow stretched before them, Noah finally felt free. Their love was not born in softness. It was carved from pain, rebuilt from brokenness, tested by a town that tried to define them. But in the end, it was theirs. And that was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.